No.
Welcome to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa. Sponsored by Carnation. Airing live on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. This show's opening has been produced, edited, narrated by Gwen Luckett at gluckett.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're also live on Roku, so you can watch us live from your TV. We're fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. We love them. You have to do a few things in order to participate in chat. Go to YouTube, UFO Paranormal Radio. You can go to all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, and Podbeam, and of course, Horsefly Chronicles Radio on Facebook. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we have two amazing guests. Please welcome to the show Bill and Kris Reap. They are the founders of R.E.A.P Investigations. They have appeared on TV and many talk shows and news media events. Together, along with their team, they have worked on so many historical and private cases. They have a lot of experiences working on darker cases as well. They are both retired correctional officers. Bill is a U.S. Army veteran and an ordained minister. Kris is a practicing witch and also an ordained minister. And they've both been to the Horsefly Chronicles house. They have decades of years of experience in the paranormal. So please let's welcome them to the show.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
It's great to see you guys.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's great to see you.
Been a long time.
Before we even start the show, I have to say this. Years and I don't know if you even remember, but years and years and years ago, you said to me, Julie, you need to do a radio show. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. I just can't do that. And you're like, yeah, you can. I'm like, no, not for me. I can't do that. And we're talking maybe like 5-6 years ago, maybe more.
Yeah, we were in Kentucky when I told you that.
It was you. It was both of you.
We were both there, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember that day.
We were in Kentucky sitting under the awning and outside of the picnic table.
Oh, wow. And I was like, no. And now here we are.
There you go. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun. It is. I love it. I enjoy it.
No, and thanks for having us on. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. So, we like to really take it from the beginning with the two of you. If anyone doesn't know you, everyone does know who you guys are. But for any of the listeners that may not know, tell us, how you guys got started and what really drove you together to create this team and research the paranormal.
Well, let's see. We met in 2009 in prison, and we've been together since. Turned out we both had a love for the weird and unusual stuff, and we've both been investigating separately. And once we got together, we started doing it together and having other people, join us on investigations and hang out. And people saying we want to go with you, and said, okay, we'll form a team. And REAP Investigations was born, and the team has changed over time, and people have come and gone, and gone on their own separate paths. And we have created a team now that is absolutely amazing. We are now over 30 people across the US, north to south, east to west. And every single team member is one of a kind and unique in their own way, and absolutely beautiful souls. From Mish on the West Coast and her team, to Mike Gallant and his group up there in
Massachusetts, to Amy Green down in New Orleans, and
Scotty Rourke.
We in the Midwest, we put together a great team across the country. It was the synergy is what we were looking for, and people who work together, and everyone who wanted to have that same goal and work together and really want to push to prove that yes, the paranormal exists, but not only that not everything that goes bump in the night is paranormal. It could be nothing. Maybe you need to run the vacuum underneath your bed, and that you get rid of some of those dust bunnies. But and not afraid to say, hey, that's not paranormal. So we assembled a great team. Everybody works in the same mindset. Janet Kelly and Stephen Teig and Casey, and the list goes on and on, from California to New York to all across the country. It's amazing to work with these guys. And Kris and I were, we were on the road, and hitting it hard, traveling all across the country and investigating in all these phenomenal locations. And it was awesome. And then, COVID hit, and, which changed so much in the paranormal, where so many things were locked down, and, things are just starting to get back to normal. If we get, like as anything was ever normal in the paranormal, but things are getting back to normal now. And, we've been back out doing some things, and it's a lot of fun. And, so we're glad to be back doing something like this with you guys.
Yeah. We're slowly kind of gearing up and moving forward. Probably we won't go as extensively deep into the depths we were in a couple of years ago, but we'll be back in it and around again, and finding new locations.
Yeah, and sometimes you need a break. I get it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes
We got some really cool. We've found some really cool locations in the Northeast. It's kind of funny. We did a lot of stuff in the Midwest, and a lot of stuff down south, and things out in the West Coast, and we never really, we did a lot of private cases on the East Coast, but we didn't do a lot of things in the Northeast. And we used to joke about that all the time. And Greg O'Brien used to tell us all the time, "Oh, you've never been to Fort Mifflin. You've never been to Fort Mifflin. You're 2 hours away. You've never been to Fort Mifflin." We finally went to Fort Mifflin and loved it.
Loved it.
Oh.
Got eaten alive.
Yeah, got eaten alive by mosquitoes. I went down and did a thing with Brian Cano down there at Fort Mifflin. Had a blast. And here it is in our backyard. We just recently
found a couple new
locations that are in the Northeast, and we did one at Keystone Theater.
Oh, phenomenal!
Phenomenal location. The history is amazing, and we're gearing up to do something in October with them. And then we just found another location that we just announced that we're going to be doing something in the beginning of October. It's an old creamery.
Connected on the property is a morgue.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
a fully functioning morgue.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yes, that'll be fun. We'll be doing that in the beginning of October, just in time, for Halloween. So,
Oh, wow.
we'll be doing that,
That's
and
something
so
like
that'll be a
crazy.
lot of fun. That's up on our Reap Investigations page, so you can come out and join us with that. But it's steeped in a lot of history, and we're helping raise some money for some local charities out there and help restore these buildings. The Keystone Theater being one of them. And we're working with the Historical Society out there in Bradford County to help, figure out some things out there. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's still our main focus, the historical locations that need help, that are haunted, and we can raise some money for them to help make up for grant money or donations or that, then, that's awesome.
And the history is fun. And I mean, we still, helping, find some answers to put the pieces together of some of at some of these historical locations, through EVPs, believe it or not, put together some pieces. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's so important to keep the historical locations.
It is. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, we still get called in on some of the darker cases and some of the other stuff. There's also another local kind of local place that we've been into, which was a church that is now moving into another business. And we've been there with them, so we're kind of talking with them about doing some stuff. So it's going to be different.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you this question: of all the cases, you guys have done so many. What was one of the most hardest cases that you've had to work on? And you don't have to go into detail if it's a private case.
Private or public?
I mean, I would say anyone private.
Private.
Even though
was
it's
a
private.
little boy who was setting fire to his brother's bed.
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
and that was the darkest. If I don't use the word demon, but if any case we've ever done was demonic, that was it.
Okay.
And I was scheduled to have a stent put in. I had a
aortic
aneurysm, which I had found out by chance and was told to go home, watch TV, do nothing else. And I was scheduled for surgery, but did this case, and I got attacked. And of course, what does malevolent energy do but attack weak spots? And it hit me square in the chest and knocked me over backwards. I went outside and grounded, and Bill said, "You're going to watch the cameras." I said, "I'm not going up there again. I will sit down here." Only time I've ever strayed away from something that was dangerous, because it was like, I need to get through this to get to surgery. So I stepped out of that one for the rest of the night.
3 houses that I could ever say that I felt a dark presence. Okay. The house Kris talked about, your house, and the Hinsdale house. Those are the 3 darkest places I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard that before. I've heard our house really being compared to the Hinsdale house. I've never been there.
Your house, I personally didn't have anything bad happen to me, but definitely the energy was there, and the evidence that we had and things that had happened while we were there. Yes. Hinsdale house, I got attacked at.
You did.
I got schooled there. I let my guard down. I did something I shouldn't have done. I took off a piece of protection that I shouldn't have taken off and allowed it to be used as a pendulum, and I shouldn't have done it. And I paid the price for it. And I got schooled. And I've been doing this a long time. And I shouldn't have done it, and I did it, and that was on me. And I used it as a learning experience, and then as a teaching experience that even,
even after many
years of doing this,
you can still get your ass.
You need, we become complacent in doing this. And
Yeah.
And you could go into a place in one minute it's Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and the next minute it's Freddy Krueger. So you got to understand that. So, there's two sides of every coin. So
Yeah, and
you
I
have to be
love that you
careful and
say
you have to
that.
be aware.
Yeah, and I love that you say that, because someone that has so much experience like yourself, and that happened to you, I mean, it goes to tell you that you really have to be careful.
You do. You have to be aware. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't let your guard down. And when we do this, it's serious. It's not a game. It's not TV.
But when you've been doing it for a while, it's very easy to just kind of sit back and go,
oh yeah,
all right, whatever. We're going to ask some questions. We're going to call it out and kind of just go, I didn't need to bring the protection. I forgot it tonight. I'm not worried about it. We'll go in anyway.
And it was very innocent. They said, hey, can I use this? I forgot my pendulum. Can I use this? It was Kris. Kris said to me, can I use your wheel as a pendulum? I was like,
it was the only thing around.
She's like, oh, can you use it? I'm like, oh, fine, here, go ahead, use it. And she used it.
You probably weren't even thinking. You probably weren't even
I'm like, here, go ahead, use it.
Yeah.
And that was not a good thing to do.
But I don't even feel like you were really even thinking about, like, you were just, okay, whatever, take it.
It was like, yeah, sure, here, go ahead, use it. Yep, wrong. No, don't do that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I will say, I have to ask you this question. Does it go according to faith and belief that helps you to succumb to some kind of an enemy, remove an enemy, or is it just a vibration that you put out with intent that seizes the enemy during an investigation? I ask that question because we talk to people of all different types of faiths and religions and beliefs. Some people do not believe in Catholic religion, Christian religion, and they say they can remove entities. And then my question is, well, if you can remove them, what practice are you using? And they're using themselves. And I like to see, because you're in the field a long time, what's your belief on that? Do you need a cross to exorcise a demon, or do you need that inner part of you to help you remove the demon?
Go
ahead.
Removing a demon, or negative malevolent energy, or helping a spirit cross over is all energy work. It's all using your energy, connecting with their energy. But if you go into a house and you're a Christian and you go into a house with Native American presence, old Native American presence, and you go in going, Christ compels you. Well, they don't believe that faith. You need to find a bridge between your beliefs and their beliefs. You need to use your beliefs and respect their beliefs, because if you don't respect theirs and incorporate that, you're just going to have a spirit going, whatever, But the majority, 99% of it is totally energy work. Without working your own energy and their energy together, nothing is going to be accomplished.
Energy moves energy.
Mm-hmm.
Energy moves energy. I like that.
Energy moves energy.
Yeah.
You can't, like Kris said, when you deal with different faiths are great. And years ago, Johnny Zaffis said to us, you need to talk to all faiths, because you never know who you're going to need. Because not all spirits, like Kris just said, not all spirits are the same.
Yeah.
One day you may need a shaman, one day you may need a rabbi, one day you may need a Catholic priest, So you need to talk to them all, and every one of them is going to react differently. Not all spirits are going to, like Kris said, is going to react to the cross, or,
It's one of the reasons I think we've been so successful with our team is
because we are all faiths.
we incorporate all faiths, all beliefs, all genders, we're totally inclusive. So the more diversity you have amongst your team, the stronger that team is going to be, and the stronger the evidence is going to be. If you have a skeptic on your team, those who aren't skeptics and are true believers are going to work harder to come up with better evidence to make that skeptic go, okay, you got something there. To have a Christian and a Jew and a pagan on a team, and a Native American person, you're pretty much covering most of the bases right there, or we may say, Bill and I go in and it's a Jewish spirit. Well, we call one of the other team members, have them come in from wherever they are to deal with this spirit, or to question them on, hey, what do you think is the best way for us to incorporate any spirituality of their faith into this? So when we could call up and say, hey, I've got this, what do you think what's your advice? Because we don't know it all. And shit, we learn something new all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we try. I mean, we sit down, we discuss everything, and it's which is great. We like to sit down and have like our little round table discussions, and which is fun because like we tease Janet all the time, about string theory. And, because we sit down and we'll discuss and we'll go round and round and round. And it's like, well, what if we do this? And we'll talk about, addition. Well, let's ask them to add numbers, or what if they speak German, or what about French? And what if they're, and just keep spiraling. And well, what is the makeup of the culture of this area, and look into that area, and why are they, what are we finding in this area?
Down the rabbit hole.
And go down the rabbit hole. But it helps us when we pick up EVPs, or if we're bringing something across the spirit box that we're not familiar with, and that's what I love, what we love about our team is because we think so far out of the box. They all think so far out of the box. Mish, Janet, Stephen Teig are so far out of the box.
Very smart. Everybody, they all bring something different to the table.
Right. I mean, we were in Virginia Beach when we were getting noise coming through the EVP. We're like, what is that? And someone went, that's German. Oh, okay. Wow. Great. Someone knew this was German.
Yeah.
If it had just been me, I'd have had no clue. I'd have been like, it sounds like maybe another language, but I don't know what. Yeah. So unless they said sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Right.
I like that. I like the fact that they're diversified, because I've always agreed with that. You need to be diversified, have people of different faiths, religions, to truly remove something, or try to remove something. Because Absolutely. Julie and I have learned hands-on that everything is going to be intimidated by a Catholic priest, and not everyone's going to be intimidated by a shaman. We've learned that through trial and error and experience, and working with people that I like what you're doing, and you're onto something there, because that makes sense. Energy moves energy. You need to be diversified. And sometimes, quite frankly, we don't even know who we're communicating with, because
Absolutely.
I know for a fact these things lie and lie and lie. Yes. So you don't even know who you're talking to or what you're talking to.
Exactly. It could. They say, oh, it's a little child. How do you know? You can't see it.
The boy who was setting fire to his brother's bed, the entity that was haunting him came to him as a little boy sometimes and said, come play with me. And he would say, I can't go play with you. My mom would miss me. And then other times it would be in his closet doorway and appear as this half animal goat kind of thing. He described long, spindly legs with like goat feet and horns and black dark furry body, and short arms and red eyes. And that's a far cry from the little boy it would pretend to be during the day or in the evening saying, come play with me.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's 1 minute it's appearing as this, 1 minute it's appearing as that. So you never know.
And in that case, you know, in my research, 20 years prior to this, there was another child who had set fires in that same house.
And
Wow.
set the neighbor's
And
house
set
on
the
fire
neighbor's
and
house
killed
on
him.
fire. And killed him. Yeah.
Wow.
God.
So
Same and in the same age.
And that child had made similar comments as to
what this
he was
child
told
was doing.
to do it.
Yep.
So
yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it was a really interesting case. But we went in and we worked with them, and we believe we came to the root. And after that, her son never set fires to the bed anymore. And when she had come to us, she was in tears. And now to this day, we hear from her regularly, and they're doing great.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you know, so you know, I mean, those are the rewarding parts of doing this. And, you know, I mean, we've met a lot of great people over the years doing this, and we've helped a lot of families, and that's, you know, I mean, that's what you want to do. And, you know, we've been to a lot of really cool places, and we've got to travel and do a lot of great things, and, you know, and meet some great people like you guys. And, but, you know, it's a lot of fun, you know, I mean, we
learn a lot too.
We really love what we do.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that you're doing this, because you're helping other people, and you prove to the world that paranormal phenomenon does exist. We don't have all the answers, and no, there is not an expert. There's always more questions than answers, and you know, you shake your head sometimes, and we don't even know what we're dealing with and why we're dealing with it, but we do know that it's real.
The more you do this, the more questions you get.
I always say that, and it's the truth. It is the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, till to this day, we still don't have all the answers to what is going on here. I mean,
I will say your house, though. Your house was the first time I communicated directly with spirit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a really cool experience.
Now, we were talking about the Keystone Theater. I've gotten some Class A EVPs over the years.
The last ones, wow.
This place I have gotten the clearest,
most
precise, on point Class A EVPs that I have ever gotten in my entire life at this place. Like, they want to tell a story.
What did they say? What did they say?
The guy actually, he said his name. We wanted to. They asked, and it wasn't even like we're trying to get people more involved in asking questions when they come in to do this, and we're more doing more of an immersion kind of an experience when you come in to investigate. We don't. Here, we're going to give you our equipment to use. Here's our SLS camera. Here's recorders. Here's
and we're going to be with you.
We're going to be with you, but we want to help you do this. We want to show you how to investigate, ask questions, you know, do things. And they were doing an EVP session, and someone said, you know, can you tell us your name when, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he said his name.
And I said something about a life. We're just here to know who you are, learn about your life.
And he says, I want to tell my story. That's what he said.
My
life story.
Wow.
And they said, were you did you work here? And he said, in the basement. And they've been trying to figure out, and I guess there was a gentleman by that name who worked in the basement in the electrical room or something of the theater. And yeah, I mean, they were just starting to put things together. And
which I think had something to do why he's so strong, why he could talk, because he worked on the electrical in that building, and electricity is energy.
Yeah, it was interesting. And they got some really good EVPs, and we got a really crazy photo from in there. And
the first time we got some stuff, the second time was even more. The second
time was even more. I can't wait to go back there. But it's really interesting. Like it's, you know, you go there in a place that has never really been done before. And it's just amazing to see how the spirits wake up. It's like, oh wow, people really could hear us and they want to come and talk to us.
Wow, isn't that interesting?
And then you talk to the people who work there and they're like, oh, now all these things we're getting bottles are showing up. All these weird things are happening. All these old bottles. And
Oh, wow.
You know, I have to ask these questions because this is important. Do you think, from your paranormal investigations and that specific case, that those are the actual people that crossed over that you're communicating with?
yes,
Yeah.
Why?
I think people, I
The
think,
energy is sincere.
I think energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So I think that energy is imprinted on certain areas. I think that when we leave, we all leave our mark at some place that we really, really like, or some place that we enjoyed or spent a lot of time, or if there was a trauma there, some place where we leave a mark. So if something traumatic happened, a death, an accident, or something joyous happened, that we leave an imprint there. So I believe we leave a piece of our energy there. So if it was a joyous occasion or a traumatic occasion, yes, we leave a piece of our energy there. So that piece of us does kind of memory loop and leave a little bit of a...
Right, but that wouldn't be residual, because if you're getting an active EVP, that's an active...
Why wouldn't we be able to leave that little piece,
But
that little piece of memory chip, be able to communicate with you?
Really?
I think it would be able to communicate. Why not? That little piece of energy, a little piece of me, which should still be able... I mean, think about science. If they take a little piece of cell, they could regenerate a whole other clone, a whole other sheep out of a little piece of cell. So why not a little piece of energy be able to reverberate a whole conversation? I think it would be able to. How could we say it couldn't?
See, and I think of it differently. I think energy, spirit can go where it wants. Spirit, even when we cross over, we can come back and we can communicate.
True.
We can come back as guardians. We don't have a definitive answer as to what happens, but I personally believe in reincarnation. But I think there's a time period in between each life where you can continue learning and communicate when you're able. And a spirit that is, like in the case of the house with the kid, and that spirit lies and manipulates, and it has a completely different energy from energies we've encountered where you can feel when they're being sincere. It's like dealing with someone face to face. You can kind of go, okay, this person is the real deal, or this person is really shady and you need to watch your back. You can feel that energy. And I think that's, with energy, I think that's my...
True, but you can also look at time.
True.
Time, all time happens at once. The past, the present, and the future all happens at once. So if you look at the multiverse aspect, there's so many things.
Janet!
There's so many things, ways that you can look at it, though, Phil. Everything happens at once, so time...
Well, right. You know, that what you just said is, a lot of people message me. I can't explain that. Can you explain how that works? That everything, the past, the present, and future is at once?
Well, there's the thing called the time continuum. That's what they say. Janet Kelly, please, if you're listening, call in. The time continuum, that the time, all time happens at once. It's a theory that they said that happens in the multiverse, so that
in the multiverse,
everything is connected. The past, the present, the future is all connected. That all time happens at once. So if something is happening now, the past, the present, the future is all happening at once. It's all connected. So that's what makes time
energy can move amongst all
it
of that.
and through it all one time. So it's possible that time travel is possible. That's what they say. It's a theory. It's quantum physics.
We don't have enough time to go too deep into it.
It's a theory, but I mean, it's another possibility. So there's so many different things, and you could get into wormholes and everything else. But
it goes into the abundance of question.
You do the same
But-
thing that I do when Phil says something. I'm just like, oh, here we go.
Ah, crap.
Well,
There we go.
it goes down the rabbit hole of where are we going, because
But there is.
I
There's a
heard what
whole
he's
bunch of
saying by so many
Nobody
people.
knows the answer. Nobody knows the answer.
Yeah,
Nobody knows.
true.
So, I leave it as, energy can't be created nor destroyed. So if we leave that little bit of imprint there, that little piece of DNA, it's there. If something good happens or something bad happens, we leave that traumatic or joyous imprint there. And not that it's residual energy, it's energy.
Amazing. Definitely
That makes
amazing.
sense.
It's so
Yeah.
fascinating, right?
It is.
It's scary in there.
Yeah,
Wow.
it could be sometimes.
Smart and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
You
So
know, I believe in reincarnation.
Go ahead.
I believe in
Oh, absolutely. I
reincarnation.
believe it.
And then the question becomes, are we sometimes reinvestigating ourselves from a place that we once were that we don't remember?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I'd have to do some deep past life diving to find out. I don't think I've run into myself yet.
Well, here's where, in paranormal investigating, I like to play hardcore for the skeptics, and I like to play I understand as an investigator. And hardcore is you go to a building that's from the 1700s, and Mr. Johnson is communicating with you through a device. Are we led to believe that Mr. Johnson still exists in that time, in that era of the 1700s, and the communication is a there and now from us to them? Or is it possible that we're communicating with something totally different, imitating Mr. Johnson? Now, I ask that question because what comes back to me on several of these answers that, well, they hear people going up and down the stairs in a home, but there are no stairs. But when they do research, and there was a building there that did have stairs. And then it leads me to believe that, is it possible that we're somehow going into their bubble where we think they're coming into our bubble during an investigation? When they're communicating, are we actually going into their atmosphere versus them coming into our atmosphere?
Like the movie The Others.
Now you've kind of dove into that movie. I forget the name of the movie, where she thinks she's being haunted and she's hearing all this stuff. Turns out she's the one who's dead.
Wait, The Others.
Yes.
Yeah, the others. Right?
Yes.
Others. That movie was so good.
But
Yeah.
you're exactly correct. I mean, there's if you look at the layers of the paranormal, I mean, when you get into a structure, I mean, if we look at, let's take your house, for instance, you're in a relatively new development. Okay. But where you were, that was not always a development.
Yeah.
That wasn't always housing. It was farmland at one point in time. So what was it prior to that? Was there a farmhouse there? Was there, sharecrop housing there? Was there a barn there? Was there something else there? What structure was there prior to that? What had happened there? What tragedies have happened prior to this? So you need to peel back those layers to figure out what structurally was there prior to that house or that structure that was there. When we see a ghost walking through a wall or a spirit walking through a wall, doesn't necessarily mean that the spirit's walking through a wall. There could have been a doorway there at one point in time, and if we find that original floor plan of the house, we find that there was actually a doorway there at one point.
I agree.
It's one of the mistakes people make. They become hyper focused. They say, I'm going to a location, and they research the location, and they say, oh, Bob Smith died in this house in 1990 something. And they become hyper focused on that, forgetting that that house wasn't always there.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not Bob Smith who died that they're talking to, but it's someone from 1700 or whatever. There's so many layers of time that they get hyper focused on one thing and miss all the other stuff that's going around. Like Bill says, you become hyper focused on this plate in this corner because someone said it will move. And meanwhile, behind you, there's a poltergeist juggling, swords and chainsaws and all kinds of crap, but you're hyper focused here instead of paying attention to everything.
That happens a lot when people go to, famous locations.
Yeah.
And they'll go in and they'll go, oh, well, I saw on Ghost Adventures, they saw this apparition was in this corner. And meanwhile, in the back, there's plates dancing, and they're.
Yeah. And how many times have we gone into a location and I go in blind, so I don't do the research. Bill does the research, he keeps it to himself, and I go in blind. And I've been in a place and I'm getting something and I'm getting this, and the person who's there goes, nope, never happened. Well, how long have you been here? Have you been here more than 100 years? Well, no. Okay. It might not have anything to do with what's currently happening. It may have something that goes even further back. So someone comes in and tells me, I'm getting this. I'm never going to say to them, no, you aren't, because that didn't happen here. I'm going to say, okay, tell me what you've got, because they may be picking up on something that I'm not getting, and it's not meant for me. It's meant for them.
That's very interesting. I love the way you put that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like when you have an EVP recorder and 3 people have EVPs, you do the same session, you record the same thing, you get something, I get something, Phil doesn't. Well, it's not meant for him.
Yes.
Or you get something and no one else does. Well, that's meant for you.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't tend to get EVPs. Bill gets EVPs all the time. I get usually cursed at if I get anything. But I think that's because I communicate with spirit differently, and they don't feel the need to communicate with me through EVP. So I rarely ever get an EVP, where Bill does.
That's a good point you bring up. That's very interesting. And I agree with you. Some people are in that lane of that spirit, and other people aren't. And they're like, no, I didn't get anything. No EVPs, no pictures, nothing. And another person is in that lane and gets everything. I agree with you on that. And then it goes back to energy. And it goes back to our energy is on that parallel line of their energy, where another investigator that's with us may not be on that same energy level, like a guitar. The strings on the guitar, we're on that certain chord, and other people aren't, and you're just matching it at that time. I realized that through investigations and so many teams, that some people will get things that are just far out, and other people will get things that are more realistic. And that's the way it's on. You're on that energy chord with that spirit at that current time.
You did a wonderful experiment at your home by bringing in so many different teams to do so many different and kind of take their data and used your home as a petri dish, so to speak.
Yeah.
And kind of, see how and take that raw data and kind of be able to figure out what was going on. And
we wanted to prove to the world, right, Jewel? No, we wanted to prove to the world that it exists.
Because we get a lot of heat on that, and what you said, it's you have to either look at it. You got to look at it 2 ways. The way that you said, like we're trying to understand what the hell is going on here, and then on the other side, it's like, well, it's not exactly the safest thing to do to bring so much, but like we just wanted to know and learn, and that's really right, Phil.
And I mean, we learn by looking at multiple sources. I mean, when you research something online, you're researching a cruise and you want to know when's the best time and best price. You look at many, many different ones to figure out, okay, they all have this in common, but this is what's different amongst each one. And why could it be? If you bring in one group, the energy of that group may totally turn off the spirits there, and they get nothing. But another group goes in and gets all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
So it depends on energy. We had a night, Vulture City. We had groups moving. We were in one location and groups came to us. We had activity the entire time, except for one group that complained they hadn't seen anything all night. There was one guy in that group. His energy was so far off that as soon as he walked in the door, you could feel the energy change.
Every location he walked into, dead. It just stopped.
Yeah.
Every location he walked into. That was a freaky place.
Energy is...
Vulture City was crazy.
When it comes to the paranormal, energy is at least 90% of everything you're going to deal with involves energy and how it works with each other.
Well, you know, energy recognizes energy, like Phil was saying. So, you know, and using the chords on a guitar was a very good analogy. But, you know, energy recognizes energy. And I think that, you know, if Kris and Julia and Phil and I were standing here and all four of us had a recorder and all of us were standing there doing an EVP session and we all had recorders on and and all of us asked questions, and out of the four of us, maybe one of us got an answer on a recorder.
Oh, we talked about that a minute ago.
I know, but only one of us got the answer.
Yeah.
All four recorders are there. Why only one copy of that on a recorder? That blows my mind. Why only one recorder picked it up?
It's also,
we could all have the same recorder, same place, same time. It just blows my mind.
It's also the same reason why sometimes you meet someone and you know them from the word go. You know that person, and you totally in sync, and you keep saying, I feel like I've known you my whole life. Well, we probably lived another life at some point. And people who say, I keep getting a spirit haunting me. Well, maybe it's not that it's haunting you, but it's a spirit from a previous life who recognizes you and your energy. And it's like, hey, trying to get your attention. And you notice them because your own energy knows their energy.
Yeah.
Energy recognizes energy. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's true. That is really true.
It's amazing, the paranormal and how many different avenues you can go to. And one thing I can tell the world, and I'm sure you can, is that, you know, we call death, you know, the body decays and we die. But in my belief and studies and what I've learned is that we don't die. We transition. And it's like walking right through another door. And we're not taught that in this the American civilization. We're not taught that, but other countries celebrate death because they feel like the spirit now moved up to another level.
Absolutely.
But in the Western cultures, we don't see it that way. But through paranormal investigating and communicating with the spirits, I can tell you that it's just walking through a door, you know, and it's amazing. And it's enlightening too, right? Knowing that it's not the end all of the consciousness of who we really are.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
When I die, there's going to be one hell of a party.
I actually believe that.
I have my list of who I'm going to haunt.
Oh, me too, Kris.
Just make sure there's a bagpiper there.
And I think there's one person we both know that might be on top of that list.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a long list, but there's a couple right at the very top.
It's funny. You know, when we talk about demons and demonic entities, and then I've spoken to people who don't believe in heaven, don't believe in hell, and don't believe in demons. They believe in negative, evil spirits. And I would ask, well, where do they come from, right? There is really no explanation. Again, is it according to a belief that a demon is what we think it is, from a lower vibration of energy that comes from a place, dark, cold hell? Or is it because we're creating that image for that entity at that time where we're feeling that low vibration that's affecting us?
I think demons are a culmination of negative energy that's put out into the world that has come together. It may be in one location where horrible atrocities have been done. You know, satanic rituals have been done and people have been harmed. I think it's the culmination of a lot of negative energy coming together and creating this one entity. Or it could be someone who is strictly evil in life and that's their energy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Bundy, Manson, any one of them, you know, their energy will be pure evil because it's evil in life. It's going to be evil in death until it's had time to transition and change throughout time.
Intent, intent is everything. So, I mean, there is high vibration and low vibration. It's a lot easier to put out a low vibration. A negative vibration would be a low vibration. It's a lot easier to put out that low vibration than it is to put out and keep that high vibration up. So the intent is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to be negative than it is to be positive. So I think that it's easier to do that. I don't believe in heaven or hell. So the demonic is not something that I kind of recognize. I think that it's, you know, do I believe that there is bad? Absolutely, there is. You know, there's bad. People put out that negative connotation in this world. Absolutely. So, but that's just a low vibration. And couldn't it be whatever their intent that they put behind it? Yes. Is it demonic? No. Could it be very, very bad? Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree. I think that when something is just so evil, and I think, Phil, we've talked about this before, so evil, spirit is so evil. So it presents itself in that demonic way because it's just, like you said, it could be a very evil spirit.
I think it sits and it festers and it just, people lament on something for so long and they just allow it to fester. And they just sit and stew and allow it to just keep going. And they have such they don't want to let it go. And they just let it, and they just keep letting it build and build. And it ends up consuming themselves.
That's true. You know, another question I get asked, I'm asking both of you, you know, you notice that, is because I have some questions that I have a difficulty answering. And they're like, well, if you can get a picture of a ghost, why can't you get a picture of a dinosaur? What's the difference? How would you answer that?
Well, if dinosaurs' energy is round, I suppose it would be possible to get its picture. I mean, it could explain some of the unexplained. Because all energy, animals, humans, all of it is, you know, these are vessels, whatever form that vessel is in. I suppose it's completely possible to have. They have?
Nessie, Champ.
No, well.
They believe they're both plesiosaurs, so yes, they have.
Well, okay, maybe a living dinosaur as opposed to a dead dinosaur.
He asked, why couldn't they get a picture of a dinosaur? They have. Plesiosaurs or dinosaurs.
True.
Champ and Nessie have both been photographed. There they have got pictures of dinosaurs.
This is my life. He's literal.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, right, Phil?
Right.
I would think so. They took pictures of Nessie and Champ.
Yep.
Well, you know, like a lot of pictures, I've seen pictures of ghosts, okay? And it's not optical illusion, or you know what you're seeing. You know, some of it's matrix in, I get it. But some of it's authentic. And then you say, well, how come no one's ever gotten a picture of a caveman? Or one of these people from the Amazon jungle that died 200 years ago that show up in these photos? Why is it what you think it could be at that point in time?
Because they're not out looking for them.
Because they're not out looking for them.
I was thinking that
so
too.
Therefore, if a paranormal investigator you think went to the Amazon jungle, would they get pictures of those people and those tribes?
I believe so.
I believe they would. It's a possibility.
Of course, being humans, we tend to recognize what we are familiar with. And what we aren't familiar with, our mind makes it what we want to see. So
Yeah.
we might get someone native from that tribe, that area, and our mind goes, okay, either we don't recognize it and it's something completely off the charts, or we bring it into what we recognize and we fill in to make it look like us.
Possibility too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there, but it kind of makes sense too, right? I get exactly what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you're
Makes
going
sense.
completely open to anything,
Yeah.
you're not going to rule out things, or you're going to accept what you see as what you see.
Accept what you see is what you see. I like that. You know, I used to watch the Dead Files. It's a really great show. But I tell you one thing, Amy Allen would definitely scare me because she's talking about these creatures and where these things come from. And I'm like, whoa, is this actually real? Or is it like, does this actually exist from back in when? And what's your thoughts on these things, these type of creatures that are out there?
I haven't dealt with any real creatures.
No, I mean, there are,
not personally.
I mean, we've talked about, I mean, I believe there are elementals out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe that, but that's part of nature.
Yeah.
I believe that, you know, if you're, you know, is Sasquatch or something? Yes. Champ? Yes. Nessie? Yes.
UFOs? Yes.
UFOs? Yes. You know, are there aliens? It would be crazy if we thought we were the only thing, you know, intelligent life form out there.
That will be a whole other show. What's going on right now with all of that?
I think we just developed a new show, Dino Hunters.
I like it.
Will say,
I like it.
When it comes to someone saying, I see this, I will trust a child's version of what they see over a grown adult's version of what they see, because a child accepts what they see as what they see is what they see, where we go, am I really seeing that? Wait, no, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And we want it to fit into a box, where kids go, oh no, I see this and it's furry and it's got red eyes and it's, you know, it's what they see.
Scott Greenwald, if you're listening, I need a dino detector.
The new mission, the new frontier, paranormal investigating of dinosaurs.
Go to the Amazon.
Hey, pick me up on the way. Oh wait, no, the Amazon. I don't know if you want to pick me up. That's kind of scary.
Oh no. Phil'll do anything to get out of here. You're not leaving me here.
But you know what? I have to be honest. I have a lot of respect for both of you, and
thank you.
You know, the information you're giving us tonight is valid, and it's kind of the way I feel about this investigating and our thoughts about what we're communicating with. We're on that same page, and I love the work that you do. Keep it up, because you know, science can say, well, they disprove and disbelieve, but you know what? We're the guys who are proving to the world that paranormal phenomenon does exist, and we are not alone, and we do go on, and you can't debunk a Class A EVP. I don't care who you are. You can't debunk it. It is what it is. And I'm not talking about a spirit box where you're hearing the static behind it. I'm talking about a digital recorder. You ask a question, no one's talking, no cell phones, no TVs, and you're getting a response within a minute or two. Is fascinating. I mean, thank you so much, both of you. Seriously.
Thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. I loved it.
It was great. We
Tell
hope
us.
to see you guys soon.
Yes,
Definitely.
I know. Hopefully we can get out of this house. The kids hold us back. That's what it is, honestly.
My ducks hold me back.
Yeah.
Damn kids.
Tell people where they can find you.
Where we can find you. What do you have coming up next?
Well, coming up next, we're going to be at the Sheffield Creamery in Wysox, Pennsylvania. It's on the Facebook page, Reap Investigations on Facebook. We'll be at the Keystone Theater. That'll be the end of October. That'll be up on the Keystone Theater page. You can find us on Facebook, Bill Reap, Kris Reap.
And you never know where we'll pop up.
You'll never know where we'll be.
We don't know where
we don't know where we'll be.
That's the best. I love that. That's
investigations.com, and want to thank Julia and Philip for having us on. It's always a pleasure to talk with you guys.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate
it.
Right. Well, special thank you to Coronation for fully sponsoring the show. We love them. They've been doing it from day one. And join us next week at the same time on 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM from New Orleans. And don't forget, we're live on Roku right now. So thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a safe, great night, and we'll definitely see you soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
You too.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.